Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1Mosaic Minutes, where I'm going to take a little time each week to give you a little information and some motivation. So let's jump into the information about what's going on here at 1Mosaic this week. Wednesday, we are kicking off a new book study on a book called Get Out of Your Head. And this will be a Zoom study. It'll be starting at 7 o'clock, and you don't actually need the book. There's a video series that goes along with it that you'll be watching, and then a discussion to follow through the Zoom app. So check that out at 7 o'clock. Immediately following that, at 8 o'clock, will be Bride for this week. Thursday at 3 o'clock, Dan will be putting out a new episode of 3-Minute Theology, so looking forward to that. Later on Thursday evening, John and Julie at 8 o'clock, we'll be having an OCC game night, Zoom edition there, so check that out too. That should be a lot of fun. Sunday, again at 10 a.m., we are already into part 7 of the great collaboration, so looking forward to hear what the guys have to say again. And Sunday evening, guys, don't miss this. At 7 o'clock is our Mosaics Got Talent Zoom edition. So please, guys, we want you to be part of this. We want you to make some short videos. It can be 1 minute or less, up to 3 minutes. Just have some fun. Make a video of you and your kids goofing around, singing a song, whatever you can think of, guys. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be super fancy. We just want to see your faces, and we just want to laugh together. So get your videos in by this Thursday. There'll be more details in the midweek email as to how to get those turned in. And so let's move on to the motivation. So I was out in my yard this week doing some yard work, and I noticed all the dandelions starting to take over my yard and all the weeds that need dealt with. And so I thought, well, this would be cool. I can film a video out here about the parable of the weeds. And so I set up my tripod today out in my yard, and it's freezing today, of course. And I realized how many cars go by my house and how loud that is, and how I was not going to be able to make that video outside. So I brought some of the yard in. So we are going to talk about the parable of the weeds. So just picture these like all around kind of, and I'll hold them right here, special effects. And so the parable of the weeds is a story that Jesus tells, right, about a farmer. And this farmer plants a field, and he plants wheat in this field. And in the night, his enemy comes and plants a bunch of weeds among the wheat. And as the weeds and the wheat are starting to grow, the master's servants come and say, "Master, there's a bunch of weeds in the field. Do you want us to pull them out?" And he says, "No, let the wheat and the weeds grow together. And when the day of harvest comes, we will gather all the weeds, and we will throw them into the fire, and we will gather all the wheat and put it in my barn." And so it's a simple story, right? We can kind of gather that we're the wheat. We will be gathered together with God, and we will spend eternity with him in heaven, right? Because of our salvation, because of Jesus Christ. But there's also a lot of weeds. And we have to remember that the Father does not want the weeds to perish either. And he allows us to grow in the field with the weeds. And so I have 2 questions for you this week, 1Mosaic. 1, do you know for sure whether you're wheat or a weed? Because that's the most important question you have in this lifetime. So if you're not sure about that, get a hold of me, Tad, at 1mosaic.org, and we'll talk about that. Second thing is, how many weeds are growing in your field? And do you realize that the Father does not want the weeds to perish? And while we don't have the power to change weeds to wheat, we believe in a God that does. And he's calling you and me and all of 1Mosaic and all of the world that's already wheat to spend time with the weeds so that he can turn them into wheat. So this week, find the weeds in your field. Call them, email them, text them, spend some time with them. And make sure that when the day of harvest comes, that they are wheat and not weeds. And I'll just leave you guys with a quick thing. I read online that these are actually really good for you and taste good. You can cook them, you can eat the whole thing. So we're just going to find that out right now. Third thing, don't believe everything you hear on the internet. Peace. Love you guys.